Welcome back to Brand Builders. My next guest runs one of Australia's largest physiotherapy practices. He's very passionate about workplace culture. He's also an author. He hosts his own podcast and has now turned his hand to live streaming. His name is Tristan White. Good morning, Tristan.
G'day, Trevor. Nice to be with you.
Now, just in the interest of disclosure, Tristan and I are collaborators and we work closely on some stuff. And so I've seen him close at firsthand how he's tackling in the trenches this live streaming phenomena. How's it going, Tristan? And I'll get you to explain why you're doing it in a minute. But at the moment, you are live streaming every day. You have been every day for about 5 weeks. Is that true?
Yeah, Trevor, I have been. So I've been doing a daily live stream on Facebook. It goes for about 12 minutes. And I've done 29 live streams over the last 7 weeks, Trevor. So I'm in a short break this week, but back to it next week, and 29 live streams over the last 7 weeks.
So that's an excellent sort of runway, because I guess when you're doing it so often that you're going to get a lot of learnings really quickly, and we're going to dive into that. But just really, I guess, let's talk about live streaming generally. I mean, live streaming's been around for a little while now, quite a few years actually, but it's kind of taken off in patches. But I feel just by looking out there to see people who haven't been live streaming before but are now starting to do it very regularly, since COVID-19 and everyone's been in isolation, I think it's just been re-energised, that format. Is that what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely, Trevor. I've seen people experimenting more than ever during this COVID-19 season, and that's exactly what inspired me as well, Trevor. Is that I have done live streaming in the past sporadically, including I had a live stream to launch a book a few years ago. But this COVID-19 season really gave me the chance to be here in my home office at the right time and able to connect and live stream on a regular basis. And I've just loved the opportunity, and that's what I've seen other people doing as well.
Yeah. So in terms of I guess live streaming, what's the strategy and the thinking behind it? Is it just as simple as I want to connect with people, or is there something a little bit deeper? And where do you see live streaming fitting into all the other things you're doing with content?
Yeah, so Trevor, I think it's important we zoom out just for a moment to give some context, and that is that I do a couple of things in my professional life, both based around this idea that I believe the world needs more great places to work. I lead and grow the Physio Co, which is a physiotherapy practice that helps seniors stay mobile, safe and happy. We've been 11 times one of Australia's best places to work, and I really am focused on building a great place to work. But I've also got this online community called the Culture is Everything crew. And in that community, I share what I've learned, and I help and support other leaders to be able to learn how to create a great place to work for themselves. And that's what this live streaming has been about. It's been about having a regular place for myself and others to show up during this COVID-19 season, to be held to account on priorities, to see a huddle in action, which is something that I think is really important for teams to connect. And it's been a real way for me to stay accountable, help others to stay accountable, and to support these team leaders who are doing it tough right now. It's a tough job at the best of the time being a business owner and a leader, but right now it's been really difficult. So that's why I reckon that this has been the perfect time for me to launch this regular daily huddle via live streaming on Facebook.
And as I said earlier, that the whole notion of live streaming's been around for a little while. There's some pretty good stats that I've heard around it, that it people like it, so consumers like it, and brands that are using it often are getting good results out of it. And I think part of that is also that for a long time, Facebook's been trying to push the live streaming function, so it'll give you a bit of a kick up in the news feed if you're doing it. But there's still a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs just not willing to go near it. Now, they'll probably say it's all too hard. That'll be the overarching. Time will be used, as it often is, that's why we can't do it. But I have a sneaky suspicion that people don't want to put themselves out there, and you can't go back and re-edit anything because it's live. How did you get over that side of things? I mean, obviously, time-wise, you're a busy man, but you found the time for it. But obviously, being home in isolation has probably helped in that regard. But what about that whole notion of putting yourself out there, and it's live, warts and all. With if you stuff it up, you stuff it up, just like we're doing now. I can stuff it up any second now.
Well, Trev, we all can. That's the thing. We can stuff it up, and the beauty is, as a leader, I reckon that that we have to put ourselves out there. It's how we learn, it's how we grow, and it's how we show our real selves. No one wants to be led by a robot. No one wants to be led by someone who's perfect all the time. They want to be led by real people who have got real great days and tough days, problems that days that work well, and days when there's a slip of the tongue or something goes wrong. People want to see that, warts and all, if you will. But I reckon we need to embrace this idea that, and Brené Brown has made it very popular over the last few years, of being vulnerable, but having the courage to dive in and give it a shot. Yes, we're all busy. Yes, it may not work out. Yes. There's all lots of reasons. But in my experience, I'm uncomfortable every single time I go live, Trevor. There's a button I've got to press to go live. I'm like, do I really want to do this? But the answer is yes, I do. I've got something to give. I've got something to learn. And I've got a community of people who are showing up every day, some of the time, or sort of semi-regularly. Yeah. And I'm there to support and help them. And there's a whole lot of growth for me as well.
That's the message that it sends. And of course, you and I have talked, your audience is growing as a result, but it's not just how many you've got live at the time, it's actually afterwards when it's on your newsfeed and people return to it. So we think that we've got to get the big numbers at the exact live time, but really the updraft is that it's an asset that goes onto your site. And of course now we can, with new equipment and quite cheap equipment, we can be live streaming to YouTube and through Twitter, and like we are here at Ticker, we're across multiple channels. Tristan, thanks very much for that. So you're taking a hiatus this week, but you're back onto it next week on your Tristan White. What's the Facebook page called?
Yeah, so back at 1:03 p.m. Monday to Friday on the Tristan White Facebook page, so facebook.com/Tristan J. White. And Trevor, breaking news, I will be multi-streaming to YouTube from next week as well. So that's taking it to the next level. So YouTube or Facebook to find Time Out Live Daily Huddle.
Terrific. Anything could happen, and we look forward to it at 1:03 on a daily. That's a whole new story as to why it's at 1:03. Thanks very much, Tristan.
You're welcome, Trevor. Thanks for having me.